Picture a billionaire who pays cash for everything, never borrows a dime, and has zero debt. Now, picture a college student drowning in student loans with 3 maxed-out credit cards. Who do you think the bank prefers? If you said the billionaire, you are dead wrong. To a bank, that billionaire is a complete nightmare. Why? Because they generate zero profit. But that broke student, he is a golden goose. You have been told your whole life that a high credit score means you are a responsible adult. That is a lie. What you actually have is an I love debt score. It is a system designed to punish anyone who refuses to play their game. It is not about how rich you are, it is about how obedient you are. We are going to travel back to 1989 to find out exactly who invented this 3-digit number and why it is turning your life into a real-world episode of Black Mirror. Let's rewind the clock. Before 1989, the concept of a universal credit score simply did not exist. If you wanted to buy a house, you had to rely on something called character. You walked into a local bank, shook hands with a manager, and he decided your fate based on his gut feeling. If he knew your family or liked your suit, you were approved. If he was having a bad day or held personal prejudices against people who looked like you were denied. It was a flawed system, rife with discrimination. Then, the Fair Isaac Corporation, or FICO, stepped in with a solution, a mathematical formula. They marketed it as the holy grail of fairness, a blind algorithm that only cared about data. No human bias, just cold, hard numbers. It was supposed to be a tool for banks to assess risk, nothing more. But that is not what happened. Over the last 30 years, this 3-digit number has quietly mutated. It is no longer just a banking tool, it is a digital leash. The reason this matters right now is because the score has escaped the financial sector and infected your entire life. It's the first thing a landlord checks before letting you sign a lease. You could have enough cash in a briefcase to pay a year of rent up front, but if your score is invisible, you are homeless. It is used by employers to filter out job candidates under the insane logic that financial struggle equals professional incompetence. Even your car insurance provider is watching. If your score dips, your premium spikes regardless of your perfect driving record. We like to tell ourselves we're free. We criticize other nations for implementing dystopian social credit systems that rank citizens based on behavior. But look around. We're living in a privatized version of that exact same nightmare. This is not just a financial metric anymore. It is a permanent record of your compliance, and it determines where you sleep, where you work, and how much you pay to exist in the modern world. Think of your credit score like a Tamagotchi, those little digital pets everyone was obsessed with in the 90s. But this one is toxic and incredibly high maintenance. To keep it alive, you have to feed it, and the only thing it eats is debt. This is the gamification of your financial slavery. Here's how the game works. If you feed the beast too much, say you max out your credit card buying furniture, it gets sick. Your score drops because you look desperate. But here's the twisted part. If you stop feeding it entirely, if you decide to be responsible and pay for everything with cash, the beast starves. It withers away and your score dies completely.
This creates the most insane paradox in modern finance. Imagine you act like a responsible adult. You work hard, save money, and pay off your car loan. You even close that old credit card account to avoid temptation. In the real world, you are a hero. But in the FICO world, you are a traitor. The algorithm sees that you have closed a line of credit, meaning you are no longer paying interest, and it nukes your score. You are literally punished for succeeding. They hide this trap behind a fancy term called credit utilization. The rules say you are supposed to use less than 30% of your limit. Think about what that actually means. They are explicitly telling you, do not pay it all off. Keep a balance. Stay on the hook. The banks want you in a state of perpetual debt. It is a carefully calculated sweet spot. If you owe too much, you are a risk. If you owe nothing, you are useless. They want you right in the middle, like a hamster running on a wheel that generates electricity for their headquarters. They want you just deep enough in the hole that you are paying monthly interest fees forever, but not so deep that you default. They do not want you to win the game. They just want you to keep playing and keep paying. Most people assume their credit score is an official government record, like a social security number. It is not. The real villains in this story are 3 private corporations you never voted for and likely never signed a contract with: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, the big 3. These are not public servants. They are massive, for-profit data brokers operating in the shadows of the economy. Here's the cold, hard truth that you need to accept. You are not their customer. You have never paid them a dime, so why do they exist? Because you are the product. They are the engine of financial surveillance capitalism. They harvest your financial DNA, every late payment, every credit inquiry, every slightly over-limit balance, and they package it up to sell to the highest bidder. The banks are the real customers, and what they are buying is a dossier on how easily you can be milked for interest payments. Now, I can hear the bootlickers in the comments already. They say, "But wait, banks need a standardized way to know who is trustworthy. Without credit scores, how would they know if I will pay them back?" That is absolute malarkey. Before the 1980s, banks looked at things that actually mattered: your income, your cash flow, your assets. The math does not lie. If you make $200,000 a year and have 0 debt, you can afford a mortgage. It's simple math. But banks stopped looking at reality. Why? Because looking at your actual finances requires manual underwriting. That's expensive and slow. FICO is cheap, automated, and instant. But there's a darker reason they prefer the score over the truth. Banks don't actually want financially healthy people. In the industry, they have a special slang term for people who pay off their credit card bill in full every single month. They call them deadbeats. I'm not joking. To a credit card company, a responsible person is a deadbeat because they generate 0 interest revenue. The credit score system helps them filter out the deadbeats so they can market their most predatory products to the people who are just bad enough with money to stay in debt forever, but just good enough to keep making the minimum payment. That is not risk management. That is predatory targeting. The system is not just rigged, it's discriminatory. The FICO algorithm is designed to kick you when you're down. It punishes poverty and protects wealth. Let's run the simulation. A millionaire forgets to pay a credit card bill. His score drops 50 points. Does it matter? No, because he can still buy a car with cash. He can still buy a house with cash. The score is an annoyance, not a barrier. Now take a single mom living paycheck to paycheck. Her car breaks down, she misses 1 payment. Her score doesn't just drop, it craters. Suddenly, her interest rates on everything skyrocket. Her credit card APR jumps to 30%. Her car insurance premium doubles. The system looks at her struggle and decides to make her life expensive. This is the poverty trap. The poorer you are, the more you pay to access the same money. It's a spiral designed to keep the poor poor. So, how do you survive in a casino that is rigged against you? You stop trying to be moral and you start learning how to count cards. You have to game the system. Here is the dark advice your financial advisor won't give you because it sounds insane. Never, ever close your oldest credit card. Even if the fees are annoying, even if you hate the bank, that card is the anchor of your credit history. If you cut it up, you are erasing years of data and the algorithm will punish you for it. Instead, use the Netflix method. Take that old card, put a single small subscription on it, set it to auto-pay the full balance every month, and throw the physical card in a drawer. Why? Because you are tricking the computer. The algorithm sees active use and on-time payments. It thinks you are a loyal, obedient borrower playing their game. In reality, you are spending $12 a month to buy a fake reputation. You have to detach your ego from the number. That 3-digit score is not a reflection of your worth as a human being. It is not a measure of your integrity. It is just a score in a twisted video game, and now you know the cheat codes. If you think the current system is dystopian, just wait until you see the update patch. The banks are complaining that the current credit score does not give them enough data. They are running out of people to exploit, so they are rolling out something called alternative data. They are no longer satisfied with just knowing your loan history. They want access to your checking account. They want to track your utility bills. They want to see if you pay for Netflix on time. There are even discussions about analyzing your social media behavior to predict your financial risk. The surveillance grid is not disappearing, it is tightening. They are building a digital panopticon where every single interaction you have with the economy is tracked, scored, and sold. We have sleepwalked into a reality where a random 3-digit number generated by a black box algorithm owned by a private corporation has more rights than we do. It decides where we live. It decides if we work. It decides if we are worthy of participation in society. But here is the final secret. In a world built entirely on debt, the ultimate status symbol is not a perfect 850 credit score. That just means you are a perfect servant. The real power move is having the financial freedom to not care what your score is at all. True wealth is the ability to look a banker in the eye and say no. The only way to win a rigged game is to stop needing the casino's money. Do not let them reduce your entire existence into a single line of code in an Equifax server farm. Subscribe to the channel. We are going to show you how to break out of the matrix.